Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Gut Rules Masterclass, the IBS solution. I'm really excited about tonight because IBS is IBS is an issue that is plaguing people around the world, certainly here in the United States. It's something I see all the time wherever I'm getting my information, whether it's on the TV, on my phone, various news channels. It's a major, major issue. And we are so lucky that we are all here tonight with our resident expert, Russell Mariani, my dad. Um, my dad, Russell Mariani, and my mom, Megan Moore, founded the Center for Functional Nutrition back in, I believe, 1982 officially. My dad started his private practice, I believe, in 1980. So very quickly afterwards made things official. And between my mom and my dad, they have successfully run the Center for Functional Nutrition for almost 50 years now. It's pretty wild. Um, and as a team, they have literally helped thousands of people personally around the world. What's even cooler than that is the number of lives that have been impacted is probably too big for us to count on this call. But we can just share in the knowing that many, many lives around the world have been impacted by the principles and the practices that my dad, Russell, has put together over his very long career, and my mom, Megan's commitment to creating opportunities like this one for people to join in and learn and build community. And so we're very grateful for everyone who is joining us live and for everyone who will watch the recording. Thank you for being here. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Russell Mariani, who's going to speak specifically about the gut rules and the IBS solution. Over to you.
Thank you, Brian. So just a quick clarification. I actually did not hear the term functional medicine or functional nutrition till around 1998, 1999. Prior to that, we had different names for our center. Usually interesting, poetic, nature-based names. But when I heard the term functional medicine, functional nutrition, I thought, that's it. I mean, the whole point of healing, the whole point of natural healing, the whole point of digestive wellness, gut health, is to restore normal functioning to the body. And so literally the day I read that term for the first time, I went to Megan and said, we're changing the name of our business. We're changing the name of the center to the Center for Functional Nutrition. So we've had that name probably since 1998, 1999. And it's a good segue into tonight's topic because my dog is trying to get out of the office, so I don't know if you can hear him banging the door. Hold on one second. Well, her name is Lila. So Megan, you'll take over for Lila. She was sleeping quietly on the couch, and so I thought, well, maybe we'll get through the whole hour with her sleeping on the couch. So the whole point of functional medicine, which is based on physiological principles, and there are certain root cause areas and there are certain practices that I have come to understand and come to teach the whole point, the whole purpose of all of that is to work with the body in such a way that the body heals itself. And healing for most people looks like the restoration of normal functioning, not just of the digestive system, but all organs, all systems, all cells. When everything is functioning normally, there is no dysfunction, there is no dis-ease. So that's the goal, to restore normal functioning. So IBS, yes, IBS is without question the number one digestive system disorder, the number one digestive system challenge, and it could easily be the world's number one complaint. I read a study not too long ago saying that within every calendar year, some very high percentage of the population of people in the United States experiences some degree of IBS. Excuse me. So IBS is the umbrella term for literally anything, any negative symptom that can occur inside the digestive system, from the most mild gas, bloating, burping, cramping, irregular bowel movements, to the most extreme versions of those type of issues. But generally speaking, IBS is the name that most doctors will give a patient, diagnose a patient, when the symptoms are in the mild to moderate range. They're annoying, they're frustrating, but they don't rise to, an inflammatory bowel disease state like Crohn's disease or colitis or ulcerative colitis. But IBS, if it's not resolved, can easily turn into one of those more serious and more dangerous inflammatory bowel conditions. So what causes IBS, what causes any negative symptom in the digestive system, is insulting habits in one or more of the root cause areas. And those root cause areas are mindfulness, hydration, micronutrients, macronutrients, which means breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, intestinal dysbiosis, which I'll get to momentarily, oxidative stress, and redox signaling. So when something is out of balance in one or more of those 7 root cause areas, you could develop the symptoms of IBS. The biggest influence on IBS is something called the intestinal microbiome. The intestinal microbiome is an ecosystem of organisms that live in your digestive system, which starts in your mouth, goes down your throat or esophagus, goes into your stomach. On the other side of the stomach is the beginning of the small intestine, in which you have 24 feet, and then you have 5 to 6 feet of large intestine. If you were to take that system out of the body and spread it out, it would cover an entire tennis court, which means there's a tremendous amount of real estate inside our body. And inside this ecosystem live an enormous number of organisms. And collectively, that ecosystem of organisms is called the microbiome, or more specifically, the intestinal microbiome. Now, if 80% or more of those organisms are probiotics, and there are at least 500 different types of probiotics that have been discovered, if 80% or more of the organisms that populate that ecosystem called the microbiome are probiotic, then you don't have any digestive system complaints at all because everything would be functioning normally. Everything would be functioning perfectly. No gas, no bloating, no cramping, no irregular bowel movements, no heartburn, no acid reflux, no negative symptoms whatsoever because the probiotics, those organisms, aren't just hanging out in your system. They're very active participants in restoring and maintaining and optimizing all digestive system functions. The probiotic organisms literally eat your food, whatever you're eating, digest your food, break down your food inside their little probiotic body, and then eliminate waste products into your intestinal area. But the waste products of the probiotics are all health promoting. Some of the waste products include digestive enzymes to help break down your food. Some of the waste products include hormones that regulate the function throughout your entire GI tract. Some of the waste products regulate the pH throughout your system. Some of the waste products include B vitamins. All of our B vitamins are made from the probiotics. B vitamins are very difficult to get in food, and they're usually not very stable in a supplement. But when you have healthy probiotics, when you have a healthy microbiome, you have constant production of all of your B vitamins, which are components of the immune system. So if your gut microbiome is healthy, typically your immune system is going to be healthy. And so this is what's happening when you have 80% or more of those organisms be probiotic. But what happens with IBS and all other negative conditions of the bowel, conditions of the digestive system, is that instead of having 80% probiotics, you could end up having 80% dysbiotics. And dysbiotics is the name given to the opposite type of organism of a probiotic. The dysbiotics include bacteria and virus and yeast, mold, fungus, parasites, worms, all the different types of pathological organisms that can end up in a person's digestive system, in a person's microbiome. And so when that happens, it's like the weeds taking over the garden. And when the weeds take over, these organisms, these dysbiotic organisms, also eat your food, digest your food, and eliminate waste products into your intestines. But the waste products of the dysbiotic organisms are toxic to your system, and they cause the gas, bloating, cramping, loose, urgent, frequent bowel movement, or the constipated bowel movement, or the heartburn, all the negative symptoms. That's where that's happening from an overgrowth of the wrong kind of organisms. The solution is to make changes in each of the 7 root cause areas, literally transforming insulting habits into complementary habits. Sometimes, and I'm almost finished, Brian, Sometimes you can change your diet, and over time, 2, 3, 4 months, your microbiome will change. And sometimes, for some people, changing their diet can completely resolve their IBS symptoms. Sometimes they change their diet, take a good probiotic supplement, get better hydrated, and their IBS clears up. Okay, so there are many things that we can do to facilitate that change in the quality of the microbiome. But ultimately, that's the only thing that solves the IBS problem, is transforming the microbiome, reducing the population of the bad organisms and increasing the population of the good organisms, the probiotic organisms. So let me stop there. There's obviously a lot more we could talk about. And basically, my work, when I work with people one-on-one, is to lead them through a process where we completely transform the dysbiotic microbiome into a healthy probiotic microbiome. So, but let me stop there, Brian, and we can do the Q&A now. Unless you have any questions based on what I said, or if I need to clarify anything. Otherwise, go right ahead into the questions.
We've had some great questions come in, so I'll start there.
Okay.
The first question I'm going to go with is one that I know I've heard you speak about a lot over the years. When it comes to antibiotics and, very important things that people have to do at various times in their lives, there can be side effects and kind of long-term effects if you don't deal with things properly. So the question was specifically, have you seen a lot of people have IBS challenges after some form of antibiotics?
Yes, probably the single biggest, greatest insulting influence on the microbiome is a course of antibiotics. I can't tell you how many people I have talked to over the years who had, in their experience, a perfectly healthy, normally functioning digestive system, and something happened and they had to, or they chose to, take a round of antibiotics. And then during that round of antibiotics or after the round of antibiotics, they started experiencing symptoms of IBS, and they could never get it back to the way it was. That happens to many people. So yes, antibiotics, the word antibiotics means against life. An antibiotic kills bacteria. So that's really important if you have a raging infection. You want to kill those bacteria. Unfortunately, in killing the bad bacteria, the antibiotics also kills off a lot of the good bacteria. But there is a way for people to take antibiotics and not have that happen, and that would require the taking of probiotics at the same time you're taking the antibiotics. And it's not complicated. Basically, wait 3 or 4 hours after you take the antibiotic and then take a good probiotic, or 2 or 3 or 4 capsules of the probiotic. And if you do that, if you're only taking the antibiotic once a day, you can take the probiotics once a day. If you take the antibiotic twice a day, then you would take the probiotics twice a day. And just that one change, that one adjustment, can prevent a lot of IBS symptoms from happening when they're being caused by antibiotics.
Thank you. This next question I thought was written really well, so I'm just going to read it how it was written. What's the most important thing people with IBS need to hear but rarely do? What's the most important thing people with IBS need to hear but rarely do?
That there's an easy solution. Most people hear from their medical doctors, you're just going to have to live with it, which is not an answer or a response that people suffering from IBS want to hear. Just live with it. Oh, it's not that bad, take some over-the-counter medications and treat the symptoms and blah, blah, blah. So I think that would be what most people hear, don't want to hear, but what they should hear is that it's a relatively easy fix. It's an easy solution once you understand what the problem is, dysbiosis, what you did intentionally or unintentionally to cause that. And a lot of IBS conditions happen very slowly over time. And so it's hard for people to think, well, I didn't do anything dramatically different in the last 30, 60, 90 days, but this is now becoming a much more serious problem for me. But the ultimate cause of IBS at any level is a messed up microbiome. And that messed up microbiome can be fixed and will be fixed when you make the correct changes in the 7 root cause areas. If there's one, of course, taking a probiotic is, right up there in the top 2 or 3 things to do. But honestly, a lot of people suffering from IBS, if they would simply sit down when they eat, stop eating standing up, stop eating on the run, sit down when you eat anything, any meal or any snack, and do that for 10 or 14 days in a row, a lot of the negative symptoms of IBS will get less and in some cases disappear just by sitting down when you eat. The next thing would be chew your food better than you've ever chewed before. Like chew each mouthful, put your fork down or put your spoon down, chew each mouthful till it's baby food consistency before swallowing. And do that for every mouthful for 10 or 14 days in a row. That habit is often transformational for a lot of people. So, and of course, changing your diet to more reasonable, to more healthy foods, organic quality foods, stop the junk food for 10 or 14 days. So for a lot of people, they can have a major improvement in their IBS symptoms by just doing some very simple, common sense measures that they probably already know or feel confident about, that if they actually implemented them consistently for, like I said, 10, 14 days in a row, it wouldn't take even 10 or 14 days. Probably after 3 or 4 days, you'd start to feel improvement. So there's a lot of things that can be done. Everybody here either already has my book or can get my book free in ebook format and go immediately to the chapter called The Habits of Naturally Healthy People, where I lay out all the insulting habits and I lay out all the complementary habits. And if you'll just, take note of the ones that's like, oh, yep, I'm doing that one. I'm doing that negative, insulting habit. And you just correct a few of them. Typically, you're going to see your body respond very quickly.
Very good. This next question, I'm bumping up in the line because I really don't think I've ever heard you talk about it, and it has me very curious because I I mean I always learn something no matter what, but this might be really new information. So it's specifically about coconut oil and its potential benefits, or if you've ever come across it. Coconut oil and olive oil. Have you had any experience with either of them helping any kind of digestive issues? Obviously, in this case, we're talking IBS, but I've never seen that question before come from anyone over the years, so I'll see what you have to say.
So, of course, olive oil has been used for centuries, if not millennia, as a staple part of most European diets. It's certainly a staple of the famous Mediterranean diet. And good quality, organic quality, extra virgin olive oil, raw in a salad dressing or uh, for cooking and sautéing purposes, uh, uh, can be completely complementary food and not cause any problems. And could be part of a solution if somebody's not consuming any olive oil whatsoever. It could be a source of healthy fats. The same thing is true for coconut oil. Coconut oil, of course, has not been a traditional oil, going back hundreds or thousands of years. It's fairly new in the last 20, 30 years. It's become popular in the last, short period of time. And I don't personally use coconut oil, but I certainly know plenty of people and practitioners and health advocates who swear by it. And so, and I've had lots of clients who love coconut oil and they do just fine with it. The thing to remember is that when somebody has IBS, they definitely have dysbiosis at some level. Depending on the level, depending on the severity of the dysbiosis, it will or will not respond to simple changes in the diet, which is often a cause of big frustration. When that happens, when you know that you're trying to improve your diet, you're eating better quality foods, you're being careful about not only the selection of foods, but the preparation of foods, the cooking of foods, and your IBS is still not improving, it's not because those foods aren't helpful. It's because the toxins produced by the bad organisms in the dysbiotic microbiome is just too powerful to overcome with a simple change of diet. And more steps are going to need to be taken. More of the 7 root cause areas are going to need to be addressed to facilitate an improvement in the IBS condition. But generally speaking, both olive oil and coconut oil are perfectly healthy, health promoting foods and good for the digestive system. In moderation. Too much oil is going to be a problem, but moderate amounts are completely fine.
Awesome. I'll just add a quick personal take on coconut oil because I use it every day on my skin. And I was actually told, interestingly, by one of my dad's colleagues at some point over the years that um, if you if you use coconut oil on your skin like before a shower, it's even extra energized for some reason. So for anyone that likes coconut oil, try putting on your skin. I can tell you, I love it. Okay, back to IBS. Can you talk about some of the diagnostic tests that you utilize to diagnose IBS or other gut-related issues? Do you do any testing? Do you have any diagnostic ways that you go about your business?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the answer is I do not require any testing to determine anything. Now, lots of people that I work with have gotten functional testing on their own, have gotten there's different types of ways of testing the microbiome or the health of the microbiome, the health, the diversity and proportion of different probiotic strains and organisms. But I don't require it in my practice. partly because it's very expensive, and partly because it's not necessary. I don't need to ask someone to invest money into a test which is going to prove what I already know to be true, which is everything I've shared since the beginning of tonight's conversation, that the ultimate root cause of their digestive system disorder and distress is a messed up microbiome, is an out of balance microbiome, is a microbiome dominated by pathological organisms, which we call dysbiosis. So that's the problem. That's the bottom line in every situation. And so the most important thing for me is not verifying what I already know to be true, but having an effective process that will kill the bad organisms safely without causing a cleansing reaction or a detox reaction or a die-off reaction, and then physically removing all those bad organisms and their toxins while we build up the new garden within, while we build up this new healthy microbiome dominated by probiotics. So I don't require testing and I don't use testing generally, but I've had more than enough people who wanted to do the testing on their own, could afford to do the testing on their own. And in every situation, the before testing showed dysbiosis, showed an imbalance between the good and bad organisms. And 6 months later or 8 months later, whenever they wanted to do the after test, the results, of course, they're already experiencing the benefits of having a restored microbiome. No gas, no bloating, no cramping, normal bowel movements. And so when they get that test, it's the results show, oh, yes, you have a healthy microbiome, you have lots of diversity of all these very important probiotic strains. No wonder your system is working so well. So I hope that answers that question or concern.
Absolutely. I'll do one more in the public chat here before jumping back. Great question around acid reflux. Someone has, their doctor has put them on a specific acid reflux medicine. Side effects are terrible. What would be your recommendations on better steps than what they're currently doing?
Read my book, watch my video course. If you don't, depending on the severity of your symptoms, sign up tonight for a free 30-minute first step conversation so that we can talk, I can talk to you directly. But basically, acid reflux is typically not caused by the stomach producing too much acid, which is typically what doctors assume is what's happening. And the medication that is given or prescribed for acid reflux are in a category of medication called PPI, which are proton pump inhibitors. And basically what a proton pump inhibitor does is shut off the production of hydrochloric acid, the acid produced inside the stomach. So of course, when you shut off the production of hydrochloric acid, you don't have those symptoms of acid reflux anymore. But you could have all kinds of other symptoms, which sounds like, the person who asked that question is experiencing. And one of those symptoms could be gas, bloating, cramping, and constipation, because the hydrochloric acid in your stomach is there for a very important reason. And part of that very important reason is to break down protein. Another important reason is to disinfect or to kill any bacteria that might enter your stomach through eating food or through less than ideally healthy food. So hydrochloric acid can kill certain bacteria, but it's mostly to break down protein. So if you're getting incomplete breaking down of protein because you've shut off the production of hydrochloric acid, you're going to have a slow, sluggish motility, otherwise known as constipation. And in some situations, when you don't break down the protein, you can end up having loose, urgent, frequent bowel movements. So anytime you interrupt the normal functioning of your digestive system, you're going to run the risk of constipation or diarrhea, run the risk of loose, urgent, frequent, or slow, sluggish, constipated bowel movements. Now, typically, the number one cause of acid reflux is the lack of proper chewing. So what I said a few minutes ago about do a chewing experiment for 10 or 14 days can be transformational for people. It often can be the solution to heartburn, acid reflux, gastrointestinal, GERD, GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. It's not a disease other than a lack of ease, a lack of normal functioning. So lack of chewing is a big cause of heartburn, acid reflux, GERD, but also chronic unintentional dehydration, underhydration, not drinking enough water is often the biggest reason why it seems like your stomach is producing too much hydrochloric acid. It's not. When people are underhydrated, the quality of hydrochloric acid that's being produced by your stomach is less than ideal because you're not properly hydrated. So you end up having weak hydrochloric acid, which can't break down the protein, and that's why you're having acid reflux. So it's not because the hydrochloric acid is too strong, and that's why the doctors are giving you this PPI to shut off hydrochloric acid. So again, there are many things that you can do to address and resolve heartburn, acid reflux, GERD, starting with learning what the 7 root cause areas are, learning the difference between complementary and insulting habits, and getting properly hydrated. So often doing these very simple things without a radical change of your diet can fix the problem.
It's actually a perfect lead into this amazing question that was very long, and I'll try to summarize it. Essentially, the person was asking for people who are dealing with IBS for a long period of time. They've never found a solution. There's a lot of fear around never finding a solution, but also feeling like so much of whatever life they had at some point, whether it was enjoying coffee or just a life before all the symptoms, what would be your recommendations to someone like that that is not only having the symptoms, but has developed a lot of fear because they've had these symptoms for so long?
Yeah, so literally, when any negative condition persists beyond a reasonable period of time, and that reasonable period of time could be 2 weeks or 2 months. But certainly, if somebody's negative condition persists beyond 2 months and they can't get back to feeling healthy, they can't get back to feeling like they used to feel, what happens is a form of PTSD. And certainly, if people have been experiencing IBS for 5 years or 10 years or more, they're definitely feeling the symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Didn't happen from one event. It happened from having a life and having an enjoyable life and being healthy and suddenly losing that to IBS, which then takes over your life at some level, and you can never get back to feeling great again. But you can get back to feeling great again. I mean, the whole purpose of my work is to restore normal functioning. Normal functioning means not just the absence of the uncomfortable symptoms. Normal functioning means great energy, great attitude, great sleep, great skin, great digestive function, great elimination, great heart health, great liver health. Everything of your body is functioning normally. Okay? So don't give up. Sign up for a free 30-minute session with me and let me explain to you how we're going to get you well. When IBS persists for any length of time, it's the microbiome, plain and simple. You can read the testimonials on the website. I'm thinking of one woman right now who had IBS for 20 years. Loose, urgent, frequent bowel movements for 20 years. But the condition, she kept going to her GI doctor and, they put her on different medications. It never developed into Crohn's. It never developed into colitis, but it was not just annoying. It was life altering in a negative way. 20 years of never feeling well in that area. 4 days into her program with me, and she had complete disappearance of her negative symptoms. The first normal bowel movement she had had in 20 years, and just continued to get better and better, and the problem never came back. So that's possible. And it's more than possible. It's probable. It's likely when you get to the root of the problem, which is a messed up microbiome, a microbiome overgrown with the wrong kind of organisms. And there's a process and a protocol to address that and resolve that. And that's what I do every single day, with 3 or 4 brand new people every single month.
Yeah, I remember you sharing that particular one with our family. They had written quite an amazing email to you that they, wanted to share on the website, of course.
Yeah, so that person, and I think you know who we're talking about, Brian, that person was obviously very happy, obviously very relieved, and then 3 or 4 days later became very angry because she had gone to doctors, all kinds of doctors and other practitioners for 20 years without a solution. Well, she got over her anger because now she was healthy again. But yeah, it's understandable when people suffer and they're told all the time. And this repeats what we talked about earlier, but people suffer from these conditions and they're told all the time there's nothing you can do about it. You're just going to have to live with it. And the worst thing that's told to people who suffer from IBS and other type of digestive system disorders is it's all in your head. And I'm here to
That
tell you,
that is
it's
wild.
not in your head. Go ahead.
I was literally about to say I got what I considered a very vulnerable question in a private chat, and it was literally the question was this: my doctor tells me that this is all in my head. What can I do about that? And I thought it was a very vulnerable question. I thought it was very
Get yourself a new doctor because that doctor is not telling you the truth. And that's not even a criticism of the doctor. Most medical doctors are not trained in nutrition and integrative medicine and functional nutrition. And most GI doctors are not trained in this approach that I'm explaining to you tonight. Now, I've had GI doctors as clients, and I've taught some GI doctors how to do this, what I do, so that they could integrate that into their practice. But if any doctor tells you that your symptoms of IBS is in your head, shame on them for saying that. First of all, what they should say to you is they don't know what's causing your distress. They don't have a solution for you, and you should go find somebody, go search the internet, or go talk among your friends, or go find a solution because I don't have one for you. But shame on anybody. And again, I've talked to hundreds of people over the years who were told it's in your head, and 3 weeks later they're fine. So it's not in your head, it's in your gut. It's physical. It's an imbalance of the organisms in your gut.
awesome. And I'll just leave it with our last question. And the question is, what would be your number one recommendation for people to walk away with tonight who either have full-blown IBS or are symptomatic?
Um, Sign up. Brian will put the link in the chat. Sign up for a free 30-minute first step conversation with me so that you can tell me directly what your symptoms are, if you've had a diagnosis or not, how long it's gone on. We can talk about a few things that you might be able to do immediately to facilitate some improvement, um, and discuss the solution, obviously. So, and if for some reason you don't want to do that, I would definitely read the ebook, download the ebook for free, and read the first 30, 40 pages. And hopefully after reading 30, 40 pages, you'll want to sign up for that free first step conversation. But that's the simplest thing to do, and that's the most direct way to get in a conversation with me and start talking about a solution.
And I think I'll just piggyback on what you've shared here towards the end of this masterclass. And it's about the origin of your story. You had severe, debilitating symptoms. You were not getting help. You certainly weren't getting answers that made sense to you. And at that point in time, everyone alive still had to go to physical libraries. That was where you could access, information and be curious about things beyond just talking to friends and family and things like that. Which you did. You went to the library, you were curious, you were intentional about your
Desperate.
time. Yeah, desperate. And ultimately, it's why you're here today. It was that initial curiosity combined with desperation for your own health. And I think that's the big invitation for people here tonight is that you have so much more opportunity to learn than my dad did. 50, 60 years ago. You have a phone, you have a computer. There's a lot of information out there. Yes, a lot of it is not very good. Our intention with these master classes is that we provide a compass for you, that hopefully we've provided a path or multiple paths that help steer you in a better direction, that help you define information if you do get on your computer or on your phone after this master class and you start researching and you come across something that you go, wow, that completely contradicts everything that Russell just said. Maybe you felt that what he said was real and made sense to you. And so you don't go down that path and you go down another path that does make sense. Most importantly, we hope that your time with us was valuable, whether it was for community, whether it was you learned something. It matters that we all got together and we talked about the things that we did. It's only possible that that happens because we do get together and have conversations like this. If you have symptoms, if someone you know has symptoms, take advantage of a completely free opportunity to talk with Russell. He had very, very serious issues as a young man that he was able to resolve through his own education, through his own seeking of knowledge, and has been on the path to finding knowledge and to being someone who is knowledgeable ever since. And that's why he showed up tonight. For all of you here live, for everyone who's watching the recording, the most important thing to us is that we are here as a community. We are here as a knowledge base that hopefully adds value to your life in some way, hopefully points you in a better direction, especially if you are suffering in any way. And we're very grateful you're here. So that's all for tonight's masterclass, specifically about IBS. Thank you for joining. We wish you all well, and we look forward to seeing you at our next masterclass, which is going to be on November 18th. We also have a newsletter coming out at the end of the month, October 30th. Thank you all for being here. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Megan. Thanks, everybody,
Thank
for being
you.
here. Take good care.